college, my mother encouraged me to pick a place I wouldn't mind staying. When my mother and I were looking through the options for living and learning programs, it became clear that LEXengaged, a program about community engagement and social justice, would be the perfect fit. By joining LEXengaged, I was committing to a year-long program where I would live and learn with students with similar interests as me, offering specialized programming, interactions with UK faculty and staff, and a supportive community that focuses on student success. Little did I know, I would be committing to 8 years or more in a community that welcomed me with open arms, that I want to invest in the way it has invested in me. The class structure included much interaction with community leaders, artists, and organizers, as well as weekly visits to William Wells Brown Elementary. Early on, my LEXengaged class and students from the 21st Century program at William Wells Brown created a cardboard quilt with pieces of cardboard where students wrote, "Something you wouldn't know by looking at me." Some answers being, "You wouldn't know by looking at me that I speak Spanish. You wouldn't know by looking at me that I like to read. You wouldn't know by looking at me that I want to be a nurse. Mind reading, you wouldn't know by looking at me that I'm Latina." This idea of seeing past our initial assumptions of one another and the question, "Where are you from?" would become through lines in the work we did at William Wells Brown and later on in Rosie's most recent book, Campus Candor. One of the early off-campus excursions LEXengaged took us on was to Keeneland. I and many other students were appalled by the wealth that we were surrounded by, some for the first time. I immediately took note of the racial dynamics of the industry, who was parading around horses in green vests, who was shoveling the horse poop off the ground, and who was able to buy a horse for an amount of money I will never know. This, I determined, was an industry made for and meant for wealthy white people. Of course, we here today know that is not the case. Working with Dr. Giles, the students attending school on the grounds of the Kentucky Association track, and students like me, who are not from here, together learned about the history of black jockeys in the horse industry and in Lexington. This education turned into the artwork you see behind me. I would hope that when students from William Wells Brown are answering the question, "Where are you from?" they are able to draw on this history and this project and answer proudly that they are from Lexington, from a rich history of Kentucky Derby winners, from the first horse racing track in Lexington. I'd like to take some time to acknowledge the women who made this work possible. Ms. Giles for her extensive career making this history visible, making the Color of Silver project possible. Monica Davis for directing the 21st Century program at William Wells Brown. Sarah Jane Webb for her beautiful work on this project and with Campus Candor. Julie Struck, who I did not get the opportunity to work with, but whose art made this work possible. Miss Becky, who left us all in LEXengaged all across town for 2 years. And I would like to acknowledge the women who remained in LEXengaged with me in our second semester. Monica, Jade, Avaria, Lexi, Joanna, Madison, Asia, and Lauren. And to Rosie. To Rosie, without whose work, I and many people I know would not have stayed in Lexington. Nor hold it as such an important place in our hearts. Had it not been for LEXengaged, the connections I made through that program, and my relationship with Rosie, and our empathy work on Campus Candor, I would have not stayed in Lexington. This program expanded the boundaries of my schooling far beyond the University of Kentucky's campus. I consider myself to be part of Rosie's work product. This mentorship, leadership development, and emotional labor is often not valued or given the status it deserves, and is typically underpaid or unpaid. I would also be remiss not to mention the work of the Urban County Council members that also prioritize the rectifying of our racist history. Councilman Denise Gray, Councilmember Shayla Lynch. Boy, can we actually give them a round of applause for Thank you. I was recently in this same building at the Lyric for the debut of Becoming Bell Hooks. I always find the words of the chapter "Kentucky is my fate" from her book Belonging to be striking. If one has chosen to live mindfully, then choosing a place to die is as vital as choosing where and how to live. She continues, choosing to return to the land and landscape of my childhood, the world of my Kentucky upbringing, I am comforted by the knowledge that I could die here. When people ask where I'm from, I say DC originally, but right now I'm in Lexington, Kentucky. I still get faces and questions. Kentucky? Now I'm able to honestly and humbly answer, yeah, can I tell you more about it? What an immense privilege to have been here for this and to share it wherever I go. I too am comforted by the fact that I could die here. Thank you.